Dear learners, welcome back to the third session on existentialism. In the previous two video sessions, we have discussed about the principles of existentialism along with the concept nature of existentialism in the first video. We have also made detailed discussion on the educational implications of existentialism philosophy. Today in this video presentation, we will explore the other implications of existentialism philosophy like the role of teachers and discipline. We will also delve into the evaluation of existentialist education. Let's start with the discipline aspect of education. Before discussing the discipline aspect of existentialist education, let's know some core principle of existentialism in regards to education. Number one is individual freedom. Humans are free to make choices and shape their destiny. Second one is authenticity. This means living truthfully according to one's own values rather than societal expectation. Third one is subjectivity. It means experience and perspective are central to meaning making. Fourth one is responsibility. With freedom comes responsibility for one's action. And the last one is absurdity and anxiety. Life has no inherent meaning which can lead to existential anxiety or dread. We can discuss or we can say that these core principles refers to the assumption of existentialism that we have already discussed in the first video session. Existentialism and discipline may seem like opposite concepts at first, one focusing on individual freedom and the other on structure and order. However, a deeper analysis shows that they are interconnected, particularly in the field of education, philosophy, and personal development. The philosophy of existentialism believes that the school should provide an atmosphere where the individuals develop in a healthy way. Children learn better when relieved from intense competitions, harsh discipline, and fear from failure. Here the students are given full freedom to develop their self by changing their objective knowledge into subjective one. But these children are trained in such a way that they do not become selfish, autocratic, and irresponsible due to their subjectivity. They are also given education according to their specific interests and abilities in this way. Self-evaluation is the beginning and the end of learning process. Thus, disciplinary process of existentialist school of education supports metaphysical, epistemological, and axiological nature of philosophy as it gives importance to individualistic view of the students and thus it gives the student the power of logical thinking. Discipline refers to the practice of training oneself to follow rules, codes of conduct or behavior, and a structured way of living. It is essential in various fields such as education, military, and governance. Existentialists believe in self-discipline rather than externally imposed discipline. Since they emphasize personal freedom choices, they argue that individuals should impose a discipline on themselves as a part of their responsibility. However, existentialists reject blind obedience to rules imposed by society, institutions, or the traditions if they contradict personal authenticity. For example, Jean-Paul Sartre argued that people should take full responsibility of their choices rather than following imposed structures without questioning them. Again, Kierkegaard emphasized that the need of an individual spiritual discipline to seek personal truth. There are some key aspects behind the discipline of education according to this philosophy. First one is balance between freedom and discipline. While existentialism emphasizes freedom, unregulated freedom can lead to chaos. Discipline provides a structure within which freedom can be exercised effectively. In education, for example, students need discipline to cultivate focus and effort in learning. Teachers influenced by existentialist thought should encourage students to question authority and make independent choices while understanding the consequences. Then another aspect of discipline is discipline as a path to authenticity. A person who follows self-imposed discipline to achieve personal growth is more authentic than one who merely follows rules without reflection. For example, an artist who dedicates time daily to improving their craft exercises discipline in a way that aligns with existentialist ideals. Then third one is, in an educational setting, existentialist philosophy influences teaching methods that focus on student autonomy and critical thinking, while discipline ensures conducive environment. Now let's come to the students' and teachers' role in respect to discipline. Encouraging students to explore meaning and take responsibility for their learning while maintaining necessary discipline, as well as for teachers' role exercising freedom in learning choices while adhering to discipline to achieve intellectual and personal growth. The classroom environment should be a balance between allowing free expression and maintaining order for productive learning. Thus, existentialism and discipline, though seemingly contradictory, can coexist harmoniously. Existentialism stresses freedom and self-determination, while discipline ensures that this freedom is exercised responsibly. True existentialist living involves self-discipline not as an imposed structure but as a conscious commitment to personal growth, responsibility and authenticity. Then comes to the existentialist role of teachers. Means, what is the role of teacher in existentialist education? Existentialism in education focuses on individual freedom, personal choice and self-awareness as discussed. It emphasizes that students should take responsibility of their learning, explore their own values and create meaning in their lives. In this context, teachers play a very crucial role in guiding students towards self-discovery while fostering a learning environment that encourages critical thinking, creativity, and personal growth. In existentialist philosophy, teachers are given very much importance. He can facilitate development of originality and creativity by providing a climate as well as the basic skill which make exploration possible. The role of the teacher is very flexible. There is a positive relationship between himself and his students. The teacher is the foreground and is the center of attraction in the existentialist education. In the school, the teacher initiates the act of education through his or her action and influences the lives of students through his or her own life. His relationship with his student is not permissive but disciplined. By playing such a role, the teacher makes his philosophy significant in three most important aspects of philosophy: metaphysics, epistemology, and axiology. It stresses on personal relationship between the teacher and the students. The teacher must pay individual attention to the student. Instead of imposing his or her own ideas, ideologies, and values on his student, the teacher must encourage them to develop their ideas, their thoughts, and their ideologies so that they can face any challenges in their future life. What are the roles of teacher in the existentialist classroom? If we want to make a detailed discussion of the role of teacher in existentialist classroom, we can say that teacher act as a facilitator, mentor, and guide rather than authoritarian figure. Their role is to create an environment where students can explore their individuality while developing the necessary skill to navigate life. How can the teacher do it? By facilitating freedom and choice. Teachers should provide students with the options for learning rather than imposing rigid structure. The teacher should encourage students to think independently and to make their own decisions. The teacher should support personalized learning path based on student interest and aspiration. Secondly, teacher can make the student make their life meaningful and independent. He or she should encourage self-discovery and authenticity. The teacher helps students reflect on who they are and what they want from life. The teacher should use open-ended question and discussion to allow students to explore their own thoughts and emotions. The teacher should avoid imposing personal belief, allowing students to form their own values and ethics. The teacher should create a meaningful learning experience. And how he will do? By connecting lessons to real-life situations to make learning relevant. The teacher can encourage students to question societal norms and traditional beliefs critically. He or she should provide opportunities for self-expression through art, writing, discussion, and project. Then, by promoting responsibility and self-discipline, the teacher can emphasize that freedom comes within responsibility. Teachers should guide students to understand the consequences of their choices. The teacher should encourage self-discipline by helping students to get their own goals, to set goals and manage their learning. How the teacher can establish a respectful relationship? For this, the teacher has to treat students as unique individuals, not just as learners who must follow rules. The teacher must develop a respectful and open classroom atmosphere where students feel comfortable expressing themselves. Act as a mentor who supports students' personal and intellectual growth. So this is all about an existentialist teacher. Now let's move to make a critical analysis of this youngest philosophy. So if we make a critical analysis of this youngest philosophy of existentialism, we found that it is a profound and influential philosophical movement that emphasizes individual freedom, personal responsibility, and meaning making. However, while it provides valuable insights into human existence, it also has limitations and criticism. Let's make some analysis of this philosophy, examining both its strengths and weaknesses. First, let's explore the strength. Number one strength of this philosophy is that it emphasizes on individual freedom and authenticity. Existentialism champions individual freedom by rejecting external authorities that impose meaning. It encourages people to live authentically, making choices based on personal beliefs rather than societal expectation. We can take example that Sartre's concept of bad faith warns against conforming to external pressure and living dishonestly. Then second important strength of this philosophy is personal responsibility and ethical autonomy. Since there is no predetermined essence or destiny, existentialism emphasizes on responsibility for one's own action. Unlike determinism, which suggests that fate or external forces shape human lives, existentialism promotes active self-determination. For example, a student who takes responsibility of their own learning rather than blaming circumstances embodies existentialist principles. Then third one is rejection of dogma and encouragement of critical thinking. Existentialism questions traditional beliefs, religious dogma, and rigid social structures. It encourages questioning authority and developing personal meaningful through critical reflection. Nietzsche's famous declaration, God is dead, that we have discussed in the earlier discussion, was not meant to be anti-religious, but to challenge blind adherence to inherited beliefs. Then another significance or strength of this philosophy is psychological and emotional depth. Existentialism explores emotions like anxiety, despair, and absurdity, which are central to the human existence and experience. It acknowledges the struggle of existence rather than offering simple answers. For example, Camus' idea of the absurd highlights the tension between humans seeking meaning and the universe offering none. So simply we can say that the last century and the 21st century have made man so much materialistic and selfish that he and she has lost in the shine and glory of the industrial and material progress. At this juncture, this philosophy is very much essential. Industrial and material world was neglecting the individuality of man completely. He had become only a tool in the hands of science and technology. Existentialism once again recognized that individuality of man and all-round development of his personality is very much essential. Man is very much dynamic and progressive. His interest in the objective world is very much on the increase, leaving the religion aside. By emphasizing the limited existence of man, this philosophy brought the man closer to religion again. It wants to make a man perfect and subjective. It enables him or her to realize the suffering of others on the basis of self-realization. So these are all about the strength or significance of this philosophy. Now what are its drawbacks? It is not free from criticism. If we want to discuss the drawbacks of this philosophy, we found that it overemphasizes on individualism, which can lead to social isolation. Critics argue that too much focus on individual choice can undermine community and social responsibility. The idea that each person must create their own meaning ignores the role of collective identity and cultural values. For example, an overly existentialist approach in education may discourage students from engaging with shared traditions and social responsibilities. Then another important weakness of this philosophy is subjectivity, which can lead to moral relativism. Existentialism rejects universal moral code, making morality a matter of personal choice. This can justify unethical behavior if individual claims their choices are authentic. For example, without external ethical guidelines, an individual could justify harmful action by claiming they are acting according to their personal freedom. Then third weakness is neglect of scientific and rational perspective. Existentialism focuses more on subjective experience than empirical knowledge. it downplays the role of logic, science, and structured reasoning in shaping human understanding. For example, while existentialists emphasize personal meaning, scientific advancements suggest that some aspects of human behavior are shaped by biology, psychology, and society. Then another weakness of this philosophy is psychological burden of absolute freedom. Total freedom can create existential anxiety as individuals bear the full weight of their own choices. Not everybody is psychologically prepared to handle the burden of creating their own purpose. For example, many people experience existential dread when confronted with the idea that life has no inherent meaning. Then we can also criticize existentialism on the aspect that it overemphasizes on negativity and absurdity. Existentialism often portrays life as meaningless, absurd, or filled with suffering. This perspective can lead to pessimism, nihilism, or despair, making it difficult to cultivate hope and optimism. For example, Sartre and Camus focus on life's lack of inherent meaning, but critics argue that human connection, love, and creativity can provide meaning without requiring existential dread. So simply we can say that the ideas of arriving at perfection through subjectivity and introversion are misleading. If one has subjective attitude towards a problem, how can his views be accepted by others in today's objective world? Negligence of objectivity and overemphasis on subjectivity make the philosophy a game of arguments only. Because of this reason, this philosophy has not gained popularity so far. Existentialism requires a good deal of time and efforts on the part of teacher to develop individual relationship with the students for having a closer understanding of their potentialities. The educational method in existentialism appears to be impractical and inapplicable in an industrial society. So these are about the strengths and weaknesses of this existentialism philosophy. Let's discuss this philosophy and its relevance in modern context. So if we make a critical analysis, we found that it has some relevance too in the modern context. As a student of education of this 21st century, that too in a world driven by technology, it is very much essential for you to know the relevance of this philosophy at present. Existentialism remains highly relevant in modern society. It emphasizes on freedom, individuality, personal responsibility, and meaning making continues to influence various fields including education, psychology, literature, technology, and ethics. However, its application in today's world also presents new challenges and interpretation. So, what is the relevance of existentialism in education? So, it has a relevance in terms of student-centered learning. Modern education increasingly emphasizes student autonomy rather than rote memorization. Existentialist principles encourage self-directed learning where students explore subjects based on their interests rather than being forced into rigid curriculum, which is very much relevant in the context of NEP 2020, which has emphasized on experiential learning or real life learning. Then second one is critical thinking and freedom of thought. This school today encourages students to question authority and develop independent thought aligning with existentialist ideals. Existentialist education challenges students to find personal meaning in their studies rather than just memorizing the fact. For example, Socratic seminars and discussion-based learning which promote open-ended inquiry are existentialist teaching methods. Then what are the challenges in education? Standardized testing and rigid curricula often conflict with existentialist idea as they limit student freedom. Many students struggle with existential anxiety when given too much freedom and not enough structure. For example, some students may feel overwhelmed by too many choices and prefer guided learning instead of complete autonomy. Then what is the relevance of existentialism in the field of psychology and mental health? In the respect to existential therapy, this existential therapy influenced by Viktor Frankl, Rollo May and Irvin Yalom helps individuals find meaning in their struggle. Rather than treating mental distress as a disorder, existential therapy encourages people to take responsibility for their lives and choices. Then, in respect to addressing anxiety and depression, modern existential concerns such as loneliness, lack of purpose, and fear of death are central themes in therapy. Many individuals experience existential crises, questioning their identity, purpose, and future. For example, young adults often face existential anxiety when choosing a career, relationship, or life direction. Then what is the context or relevance of existentialism in literature and media? Many contemporary novels and films explore existentialist themes like identity, absurdity, free will, and meaning. Modern existentialist literature often portrays characters struggling with purpose in a chaotic world. The film entitled The Matrix, which was released in 1999, reflects existentialist ideas questioning reality and free will. As we all know that today is the age of artificial intelligence. So, in this AI era, what is the relevance of this philosophy? So, if we want to know it, we can say that the digital age and loss of authenticity is the most important key aspect. Social media and digital culture often promote superficial identities, leading to existentialist concern about authenticity and self-identity. Many people experience existential crisis due to overwhelming amount of choice and digital distraction. For example, people curate perfect version of their own lives online, leading to question about what is real and what is performed. Then, AI, consciousness and free will. The rise of artificial intelligence challenges existentialist idea about human uniqueness, consciousness, and free will. If AI develops self-awareness, does it also have existential concern? So, people increasingly turn to philosophy, mindfulness, and self-help to navigate the complexities of modern life. The inherent has become a tool for existential exploration, offering access to diverse perspectives on life's meaning. Again, if we want to know what is the relevance of existentialism in ethics and social issue, we can say that existentialism teaches that individuals are responsible for shaping society, making it relevant to activism and ethical decision making. It encourages people to stand against injustice, oppression, and societal conformity. So we can consider existentialism in ethics and social issue. In terms of moral subjectivity and ethical dilemmas, existentialism rejects absolute moral value, which can lead to moral relativism, raises questions about ethical responsibility in complex issues like genetic engineering, euthanasia, and artificial intelligence. So, for example, should artificial intelligence have rights if it becomes self-aware? Existentialist ethics should or suggest that meaning is self-created, leaving the answer open-ended. So these are all about the relevances of existentialism at present-day context. So, what are the challenges that have brought by existentialism in the modern world? The first challenges that it has brought is too much freedom, which can lead to anxiety. Many people struggle with choice overload in career, relationship, and identity. Second one is social structure, which still exists. Existentialism assumes absolute freedom, but economic, political, and cultural forces still shape human life. The meaning of crisis. With declining religious belief and increasing secularism, many people struggle to find meaning, leading to existential depression. A balancing individualism and community. Existentialism prioritized the individual, sometimes at the cost of social connection and collective responsibility. For example, the rise of loneliness and mental health issue, which is very much relevant in the modern context, can be linked to existentialist theme of alienation and absurdity. So, we can sum up our discussion on this session by saying that existentialism remains highly relevant in the modern context, shaping education, psychology, media, technology, and ethics. It helps people navigate life's uncertainties, find personal meaning, and take responsibility for their choices. However, it emphasizes on individual freedom, rejection of universal truth, and focus on existential anxiety that can also present challenges. A balanced approach, combining existentialist thought with social responsibility, ethical guidelines, and emotional support, can make it more practical in today's world. So I hope this video session on existentialism would be very much helpful for you to understand this modern philosophy in a better way. In the upcoming modules, you will be able to explore the important eminent philosopher of this world. Till then, keep watching, keep learning. Thank you.